Hello, esports fans, and welcome here to this game of StarCraft that was found on reddit.com/r/castit. I will be your host, Thaco, and we will see this game played out on Neoplanet S. And spawning in the upper right-hand position as our red Terran player, it is LuCifer. And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left-hand position as our blue Terran player, it is Barcode. Now this is a TVT. This is can be a very slow grinding game dominated by tanks, and really it will come down to who has the better tank positioning, almost a very careful game of chess played out in real time. So we will have to see if either of these players decide to allow it to come to that, or the other thing that we see a lot right now in TVT is just very early Hellbat aggression that both players just kind of kill each other with. The player that gets those Hellbat drops out first will eventually win the game, and from there they will continue to, once they get the Hellbats out, they'll continue to pile on Hellbats and medevac drops until their opponent has no workers left. We'll have to see what the players go for, as we both see them grabbing that barracks at the wall off and going for that wall off. It's not quite as important in the TVT matchup as it is in, say, the Terran versus Zerg matchup, where you really want to make sure you have that wall off to prevent Zerglings from getting up into that high ground area. But when you're playing against a Terran player, everything they have shoots, so if they get high ground vision, they can start shooting your Marines behind the wall. Also, it's important in the Protoss matchup a little more because Zealots need melee range to attack. And the first real deviation we see right now is that LuCifer got that gas up a lot earlier than his opponent. And, like, significantly. Oh, no. I lied. Both players got their gas. LuCifer actually got it later. Barcode got his a little earlier, so he will have more gas sooner. And we'll have to see what they decide to go for with that gas. If they decide to toss down Reapers to get full scouts and reads on their opponent, which we do see Barcode doing. He's grabbing that Reaper. Or if they decide to instantly get up to that 100 gas and toss down factories so they can go up into those starports, or any mech play. No player really quite yet revealing what they are going to do. LuCifer tossing down that reactor before anything else. Might want to get Marines 2 at a time here. Might want to get Reapers 2 at a time, should that be what he chooses to do. Has this Marine positioned out here so no Reaper can safely jump up any of these edges. It will still be able to jump up there, it will just be under fire. We do see that the Barcode has gone for his factory first before LuCifer, so that means he will be able to get up to the starport sooner and get those Hellions and Hellbats out a lot earlier. That Reaper is now making his way out across the map and will get the first big read on his opponent's base. Barcode actually has not seen anything in LuCifer's base yet, so we'll have to see what read he's able to get. But that Marine sees where the Reaper is and starts to get in position, and it's under fire from the instant it jumps up there. Tries to pick off that Marine that's building that command center, but it's getting pinned back into the corner by both of these Marines. These Marines are not going to let it out easy as they try to get to that ramp so it cannot get out, but it has started regenerating its health because it has been out of combat for so long. But there is no way out over here, and the Reaper is taken out by LuCifer. That was a good split on those Marines to cover all areas of all corners of the base, so that the Reaper had nowhere it could go to safely. The factory for LuCifer does shift down to that reactor, and he does start the starport up almost instantly behind that. And we see he's getting Hellions out right away, but we see that Barcode is also getting his Hellions out. And Barcode did something else a little different. He went for this command center on the low ground so he can get to mining right away. Whereas we saw LuCifer got on his high ground, is going to be very careful and make sure he has this low ground very well defended and that bunker established before he flies that command center down there and starts training SCVs out of it and starts mining from these mineral patches. There are the Hellions of Barcode are starting to push out around the map, trying to see what they can see, make sure there's nothing weird going on in any of those corners, make sure no secret bases have been established, no strange proxies are coming out. All of this would be pretty late for any of those proxies. And we see that the 4 Hellions of LuCifer are starting to move out onto the map. They do miss the 2 Hellions of Barcode as they are actually now pulling back. But with that bunker in front there, this should be pretty well sealed off by Barcode. These Hellions should not get any damage done. They do pick off that 1 SCV that was coming out, and they do not try to push their luck any farther at this point. 4 Hellions for Barcode right now are starting to establish or gather outside the base of LuCifer, and again, though, that bunker will deter them from wanting to push into that area. LuCifer is actually establishing quite a bit of Viking presence on the map. He probably wants to use those to hunt down medevacs that might be trying to drop into his base. As we see, Barcode is starting to get the Hellbats on the way. He already has 2 of them. Let's see how many more he decides to get if he actually starts training medevacs out of this starport and going for the drops. The moment he is tossing down cannons in his mineral lines for that drop defense. He has pulled back all of his Hellions. He's using those for defense right now. There are 5 Hellions on the field for LuCifer. LuCifer, who has decided to toss down additional barracks and is getting those marine upgrades in the form of that combat shield. Does he already have Stimpack finished up? Nope. Combat shield is the first upgrade he is choosing to go for at this point. He is going to play a very biocentric force in this game. That is indicated by the number of barracks he has at the moment. And the Hellions of LuCifer tried to poke into that base a little bit and decided against it and pulled back. They really do not want to engage that bunker. That is too much for them to break right now, especially with those Hellions in support of it. We do see medevacs starting to come out for the Barcode in high numbers. High numbers being 1. He could use that as a drop, or he could sit in his base as he is choosing to, using his Hellbats as drop protection at the moment. Hellbats not the best counter against Hellbats though, because the person with the more medevacs can be more mobile with them, also healing them. There we go. We finally see the drop coming out of Barcode as he moves out across the map, but it is almost instantly spotted by the Hellions. And the Hellions decide to go for a counter drop. But Barcode pulls that drop back and decides to go for those Hellions. The Hellions just do not hold up to the Hellbats. And those Hellbats that are chilling in the base are enough of a deterrent, as well as this ring of missile turrets that the Barcode has established. There is just not really any points of entry into this base for LuCifer. So we see that Barcode is starting to get those vehicle attack upgrades for his vehicle units and his mech army. He is indicating to us that he is going to play a very mech style this game, even now starting to add on the siege tanks, which are such an important element of that play. Has a supply depot way up here for either vision, or he wants to wall this off and take this as his third base. He's starting to get those Vikings out in production. I don't know if he wants to use them to counter his opponent's Vikings, or if he's using them for drop protection, as well as something to cover his drops as he moves them out across the map. There's a drop moving into both bases for both players. The drop for LuCifer goes down here and kills off that supply depot, and the drop for Barcode goes down and is picking off SCVs, but the medevac has already fallen, and a siege tank there actually kills off both of the Hellbats, but does a good amount of damage to the SCVs as well. 6 SCVs were lost in that push by LuCifer. Barcode getting some damage done there, not as much as he would have hoped, but enough to make that drop efficient as far as its cost is concerned. LuCifer did successfully kill off this supply depot and then retreated his Hellions because he does not want to anger anybody and get that killed off. The Vikings are now on the move in their drop defense positioning. They are trying to hunt down this medevac, and they should be able... It's going to skirt just around the outside edge of those. Wants to find somewhere else that it can drop. The mech army here for Barcode is starting to build up quite nicely. He has 2 siege tanks, but we do see that in his bio army, LuCifer is going for what more old-fashioned Wings of Liberty play of siege tank bio, instead of the new bio mind force that we see a lot of our Terran players going for here in Heart of the Swarm. But there's a huge drop coming in here to the third base, but there's a lot of troops there, and they get killed off almost instantly. Those siege tanks were able to do nice damage to anything, and it also attracted the attention of those Hellbats. The Vikings try to hunt down things there, and one of them gets killed off, and the second one gets pushed back. There is still 2 Hellbats in a medevac over here, just outside the third. And down in his base, we see that Barcode has established a nice defensive area between his third and his natural. Those siege tanks are going to make it very hard for anything to advance into this area. And those Hellbats can cover the distance and attack anything that should come. Those Hellions should not last very long. Oh, just, yep. They're going to have to boost out of there. They're going to try to land on the siege tanks, but the siege tanks just tear them to pieces. The Vikings doing a good job killing off the medevacs so that the medevacs cannot pick up and run away from this almost entirely ground army that we see at the moment from Barcode. He does not have anything that actually can shoot up. He only has the Vikings that can shoot other air units. And we see now that LuCifer has decided it's time to move. He's going to push out towards this third base, going to try to drop up, probably up into the natural from the top side there, while he pressures the third base from the bottom side. Wants to try to draw the army of Barcode out of position as much as he can, but siege tanks are being established on the high ground. That's going to make it very difficult for LuCifer to kill off both of these buildings and then successfully push up. But he's going to try to take out, he's going to rain down onto those buildings with the siege tanks while his Marines and Marauders kill off these destructible rocks that will give them a path that they can stem up and kill off as quickly as they can. But I don't think that there's enough space for maybe a single Marine in that passageway right there. And the drop does go down outside the natural, gets pushed back easily by siege tanks and Hellions. Only 2 Marines lost though, and they did distract some of the army. The barracks has been killed off down here. The factory is now under siege by those siege tanks. And the Vikings just patrolling to make sure no drops can come through. Scans going down to give himself vision. The Vikings, they don't want to straight. They're trying to draw Marines out of position. The Marines go forward in chase of those Vikings. And that puts them in range of the siege tanks. And the siege tanks are killing off a large quantity of the Marines at this point. 5 and 2 killed off. 7 and 2 killed off at this point. Those Marines need to move back or else they're going to keep getting shot down by those. Oh, there is a drop in the upper side that killed off a lot of workers. Looks about like 5 workers did get killed off. And there is a big force for LuCifer coming down across the top side. If he hadn't gotten distracted though, he might have been able to do more damage down here at the third. Keep more of his Marines alive. That has been sorted out. Those Marines are pulled back out of range. And he is now going to try to draw out of position everything that Barcode has by just doing a full-on drop into the third base, their natural expansion. But that is a lot of missile turrets, and medevacs will go down before they have time to drop their full load. Siege tank does get sieged up, and it will hold back a lot of this stuff from Barcode. But Barcode has 2 siege tanks here as well as those Hellbats. He will push back everything that he can, but that involved pulling back a lot of forces here from the third base. And those siege tanks are once again shooting away at those building production facilities that were trying to create that ramp. Medevac did get loaded up to try to drop, but Vikings shut that down almost instantly. Marines can't quite get to combat with that Viking, but they do eventually kill it off in low numbers. And we see now that the level 2 upgrades are started for both sides. Level 2 vehicle weapons for Barcode, as well as, I'm sorry, I lied. Level 1 vehicle and ship plating armor. But the level 2 infantry weapons and level 2 infantry armor is on the way for LuCifer. And behind this we see LuCifer is continuing to expand, adding out a 4th command center, keeping those Marines in production, even getting that level 1 ship weapon for his Vikings so he can kill off those drops just as quick as possible. Marines straying a little too close to the siege tanks on the high ground there. They do kill off a siege tank that was on the low ground, and this force is going to try to storm up into the natural. No. Alright, it's going to try to kill things off on the high ground. That does expose all of this area for a drop if he chooses to elevator his forces up. A couple Marines try to kill off the third base, but there are siege tanks there. Fourth base, I'm sorry, the left-hand side, but there are siege tanks there to hold them back. Marines do get elevated up into the main base of Barcode, and LuCifer is trying to kill off production facilities as quickly as he can. He took out one of the factories. There will be fewer siege tanks for a couple moments here, and they're trying their hardest to kill off a second factory, but they are now distracted by the forces of Barcode. Barcode's siege tank will fall though, and if that siege tank falls, these Marines might be made short work of by these Marauders. But there's another siege tank on the field trying to get range away from these Marauders, and the Marauders do kill it off, but they're not microing away from this Hellbat. And finally the Vikings do land and they kill it off, but not before that last factory finally burns down, and 3 more factories are in production that actually is reproducing 2 of the lost ones and adding on a 3rd. And there are still siege tanks down here on the low ground. The siege at the third base has been lifted though, but it looks like he is about to set up a siege on the 4th base and move back away Those Marines going down to try to clean up the tanks. He does clean up the tanks now before losing a high number of those Marines, and sieges up his tanks outside of the range of that planetary fortress. Comes up around the south side and crushes those tanks once again. That fourth base looks like it might be forfeit at this point. Those Marauders do not want to engage that planetary fortress, especially with that many repairs. It will stay up for quite a while. And he has established quite a high Viking count, adding on more Marines and Marauders, getting that level 3 weapons upgrade on the way. And it looks like that Barcode is now going to go try to break this siege from the back, but it's being reinforced by these Marines and Marauders. Those siege tanks in such good position, killing off everything at this time. Barcode should not engage up into this. This is nothing up here for him to save at this point. He should worry about defending what he has left. The Vikings are now moving out across the map. They want to try to destroy the Viking force of Barcode, and then that would allow him to start dropping around the map and become the more harassment styled player. Level 2 ship weapons upgrades are also on the way for LuCifer. In addition, that level 3 weapons upgrade for the Marines should be done in about 70 seconds. That is going to be a huge advantage at this point, because I believe there's only +1 plating on those tanks for Barcode, as well as for the Hellbats and the Vikings. And that fourth base has been established for LuCifer down in that middle right-hand position, but it looks like Barcode is going to go just all out here and try to establish a command center at the high yield. He also has grabbed one on the bottom side as a planetary fortress, but without any repair. This should be easy for LuCifer to kill off Barcode. Needed to get repairs on that. He should have called down mules, should have done something. He lost that planetary for almost free. And this middle base is actually going unscouted for the time being. The longer he can hold that base unscouted, the better this will become for him, because those high yield minerals are just so profitable. And this siege position is still set up for LuCifer. Barcode is getting choked off, and he's even getting dropped now because those Vikings are starting to clean up. LuCifer's Vikings are starting to clean up Barcode's Vikings. And a lot of SCVs dying off here. Those Hellbats trying their hardest to kill off these Marauders, but the Marauders with the heals from the medevac are just staying alive as long as they can. And we finally see that the Vikings from Barcode have come down now. They do kill off LuCifer's medevacs, but he's going to snatch up these gas geysers, these refineries. And it's so important as a meching player to have those refineries, because all of your units cost so much gas, which is a little unusual for the Terran player who's so used to relying on that heavy Marine composition that is just entirely mineral based. And this siege position still has not been broken. This fourth base now at the high yield minerals in the middle are finally starting to mine, and it does get scouted by LuCifer. LuCifer knows, and those tanks inadvertently shoot off all the one mining SCV in that bottom base. Takes a couple Marines and Marauders down there. Vikings trying their hardest to kill it off before it can escape. Those level 2 ship weapons do help out so much, and they're able to easily snipe off that before it can do anything. But Barcode is starting to move up into the siege position. He wants to break it while the main bulk of the army is away, and he easily bulldozes through these siege tanks of LuCifer. And he has broken the siege for the time being. But LuCifer is going to try to sneak up from the back and hit that now exposed third base before anything can be pulled back to defend it. He scans, he sees nothing, but he has to go and take care of those siege tanks real quick first. Takes out that sensor tower. It's just going to start sniping off the orbital command, so there are fewer scans. But now he has to start dealing with the tanks that are on the low ground. Those tanks get sieged up, they will pulverize this force of LuCifer's. But even without sieging, there are just so many tanks that they can just march up and kill off this bio army that has no medevac support, and those Hellbats even doing a lot of work to this with that cone of effect damage that they do have. Mining time was lost here. A orbital command was killed, so mules were lost, but the base does still stand. And those Vikings are just patrolling around, seeing what they can see. We have to remember now that LuCifer does have the superior air count. There are a couple of landed Vikings. He just decided to take those to the ground because he cannot fight LuCifer's air, which has those 2 weapon upgrades to, I believe, the level 2 plating upgrade for Barcode. But he just tears through that so fast, and his do so little damage to LuCifer's Vikings. Barcode is going to go on the offensive now. He's going to try to move up into this fourth base of LuCifer's. LuCifer has a lot of siege tanks there, though. And if he gets too close, this is indeed a planetary fortress, which can aid in the defense. But Barcode has so many siege tanks on in this area. He's actually losing a lot. He's down to 4 siege tanks. 5 Hellbats, 3 siege tanks. The siege tank count of Barcode is now lower than that of Lucifer's. And those Vikings did land to pick off some of the siege tanks. The siege tanks are out of range of Lucifer's siege tanks as well as Lucifer's planetary fortress. But this offensive of Barcode has been essentially shut down as there is just too much here from Lucifer to really crack. But he can set up the siege position and not allow Lucifer to move out for a while, return the favor. But that scan, getting those siege tanks extra range, picks off another one. There is only 1 tank remaining here for Barcode, and it is eventually picked off. That contain was very easily broken, and you have to love this starport wall off at the top side with three tech labs. He is starting to go into Raven production. This will be his first Raven out onto the map. But we see back home that Barcode is furiously trying to rebuild his army that was just absolutely devastated. Mass Hellbat production going on, getting 5 at a time, 7 at a time, trying to get those tanks back out onto the field. Even added on a Thor. He just needs to get an army here before his opponent decides to move back out across the map and crush him before he has time to reestablish himself. When you lose your mech army like that, it does take quite a while to successfully reestablish it. And it looks like Lucifer will not let him go that easily. He will move troops along the bottom side and start harassing once again. He should pick off all 3 of these factories. There's nothing coming back really to defend it. And even if they try, they're cut off at the moment. There will not be anything back in time to defend all of those factories. They do fall. The siege tanks for Lucifer getting sieged up before those of Barcode's. Barcode's trying to get the high ground advantage, but they can't quite make it there. And they are finally sieged up, but the siege tanks of Lucifer are just raining down destruction. But those Hellbats have broken all of the bio from Lucifer, and they will easily clean up these siege tanks once they get into combat with them, if they get into combat with them. They did not get a good line for Lucifer, just went back so far that Barcode had a little trouble with that, but he did eventually kill it all off. There is just so little mining going on this map for Barcode. He has so little income. He's getting 700 minerals a minute to the 1100 of Lucifer. He's also down 30 workers. This only has 1 mining base. This is just not a good situation to ever be in. And he is at death's door, but he is not out of it yet. He can still come back in this game if he can hold in these bases, get that 3rd established up on that middle left-hand side, which he has done. He just now has to defend it. He can't lose it to this push of Lucifer. Lucifer does not actually know it's been reestablished. He does know it's been reestablished, but Lucifer wants to go for the jugular. Tries to push up into the natural base, but can't quite get through those siege tanks and is forced to once again set up a siege position up here. Lucifer is also expanding down to the bottom left-hand side, and now he has taken Marines and Marauders up into that 3rd base of Barcodes and is going to try to kill it off, but there's a lot of SCVs here trying to repair it, and they will be able to hold for a while, but Lucifer just shifts priorities and starts picking off those SCVs. The fewer SCVs there are, the less he'll be able to repair, the less income he'll have, and the less he'll be able to repair in the future, so Barcode just has to go for it. He pushes up into the army of Lucifer, does break the contain for the time being, but has no money, and GG's out of the game. It was an excellently well played game out of Lucifer. Congratulations to him for winning that. And just wonderful harassment and contained positions prevented Barcode from ever really getting what he wanted to do done. It was a wonderful game, and I hope you will all join me for more games of StarCraft in the future. Thank you all for watching.